All right, so today we're doing section 3.5, solving systems of inequalities, and it's kind of weird. The very first thing I put at the top is look at section 2.4 for guidelines, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, let's take a look back at section 2.4. So section 2.4 is called graphing linear inequalities, right? It talks about how if it has a less than or a greater than, the line should be dashed. If it has a less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, the line should be solid, right? If it says less than or equal to, you shade below the line. Greater than or equal to, you shade above the line, right? And how are you gonna graph these things? Well, you solve for y first, optional, because it might already be done that way. You're gonna use your y-intercept and your slope to find your 2 points. You're going to connect the dots, but maybe it might be a solid line or a dashed line. So you got to think about like what type of line is it going to be, and then you're going to shade either above it or below it, or to the left or right of it, whatever you want to think of it. But you're going to have to do some shading. Okay, and here's some examples of what they look like, right? So what we're going to do today is we're basically going to say, well, what if I tell you to graph both of them on the same graph? What is that going to look like? Okay. So we're going to be basically doing this, but 2 for 1, okay? The 2 graphs, every single problem. And they'll kind of intermingle with each other, and then wherever they cross each other, so like wherever the green and the yellow cross each other, in this case, that's going to be where our solutions are, okay, in those areas. So again, we did all this stuff. So this is one where it says solve for y, right? So if they give you an equation like that, you're going to go ahead, solve for y, and then you can graph it and make the line either solid or dashed, color above or below. So we did this in chapter 2, section 4. This is a long time ago, right? Long time ago. So you're expected to remember everything about everything you've learned ever. So I just wanted to give you guys, in case you're like, I forgot how to do this. Well, there's a little thing right there. If you forgot, look at section 2.4. You can go to my YouTube channel, watch the video if you need to again, so you can see how I did everything. Or today you can just watch what I'm doing. I'm going to go over it again anyway. So, but yeah, that's where you're going to find all your guidelines. What does this mean? What does that mean? Okay. So the first thing that they're going to ask you to do every once in a while on some tests is they're going to ask you, look, I'm going to give you 2 inequalities. Is the point that I gave you a solution to both of them? Okay. So all you have to do is just test it. So is this point a solution to these inequalities? All right, so all you're going to do is you're going to get the point 2, -1, and you're going to plug in 2 for x and -1 for y. So we'll start with the first equation, the top one, okay? So we'll start with this one. And I'm going to plug in a 2 where I see the x's and a -1 where I see the y. So I'm going to write -1 greater than -2 times 2 plus 1. Actually, you know what? Let me just change the color, so that in case people are seeing this at home, they'll know where those points went. Okay, so -1 is greater than -4 plus 1. So -1 is greater than -3. True or false? -1 is greater than -3. True. That's true. Okay, so far I can say that that point works for the top equation. But the question is, does it work for both of them? So this is a true statement, so we're good with this one right here. Okay, so let's try it in the other equation. Well, the other equation is pretty easy. It's just y less than 3. You're supposed to plug in 2 for x and -1 for y. So I'll plug in -1 for y. There's no x's, so I'm not going to plug in anything for x. Is it true that -1 is less than 3? Yeah, so that's true as well. So if it's true for both of them, then when they ask you, is this a solution for this system of equations, the answer is yes. If it comes out true for both, then the answer is yes. Okay? So you're just plugging it in. It's very simple, but sometimes people get confused because they're like, what am I supposed to do with these numbers? You're just testing them. You're plugging them in and testing. So I'm going to put 2 -1 is a solution to the inequalities. I forgot to put the word to. To the inequality. Bless you. So if you see a question like this on a test and they're asking you like, look, here's a system of inequalities. Is this point a solution? All you got to do is plug it in. If the first one comes out true, great. And the second one is true, then awesome. That means it is a solution. But if any one of them is false, then you say it's not a solution to both. Okay? Because in order for it to be a solution to both, it has to be true for both. Okay? So just a real quick, FYI, if you ever see that on a test, that's all they're going to ask you. Okay? This is not part of your homework, by the way. This stuff right here, this isn't part of your homework. But it probably will be a question on the final exam, for sure. I know it because I just made the final exam yesterday. 70 questions. It's a lot, but you got 2 hours, so you have enough time. Sketch the solution. So we're going to do these now. We have 3 of these examples. Okay, sketching. So notice the first example that I'm giving you already is solved for y, so I don't have to worry about having to solve for it. But I am going to basically use my y-intercept and my slope to help me graph them, and then I'm going to figure out should it be a solid or a dashed line. Then after that, should I shade it above or below? Okay, there's a lot of little steps you got to do for each one. So let me create a coordinate plane here. I'm going to show you exactly why I like highlighters, because I always used to buy a yellow highlighter and a blue highlighter. Okay. Especially for these types of problems, because you guys know a little bit of the chemistry of colors. What happens when you mix blue and yellow? You get green. Naturally, it changes color, right? Same thing happens digitally. So check it out. If I have a yellow marker, okay, and I get a blue marker, it just naturally changes color. I don't have to do it, right? So it's great for these types of problems because as I'm coloring it in, it's the answer is just going to pop out. I don't have to do anything. It's just naturally going to say, here I am. Right? You're going to see what I'm talking about. So, all right. Let me finish up this graph here. But that's why I like using highlighters whenever I do graphing of inequalities, because sometimes when you got to do a system, it's almost like cheating, right? Like you don't mean to find your answers, but they just kind of pop up for you. You don't have to do anything. All right, so let me put 2 colors here. I'm going to put a little red dot here. So the red line is going to be an indication of the top equation, and the green line will be an indication of the bottom equation. Okay, so let's do the red line first. I'm supposed to solve for y. It's already solved for y. Then I'm supposed to say, okay, what's my y-intercept and my slope? So my y-intercept is 3. So here's 3. And then I'm supposed to go up 4 times, 3 times to the right. But will that fit? No. So then if it doesn't fit, if I can't go up 4 and 3 to the right, because going up I can only do that twice, then I got to go completely opposite. So instead of up and to the right, I'm going to go down and to the left. Okay, down 4 to the left 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. Here is my point. Now, should this line be solid or should it be dashed? Dashed. It should be dashed because less than is a dashed line. Less than or equal to would be solid. So this is going to be a dashed line. Again, ID cards are nice, but you don't need to. Okay, so there you go. Now, it says y is less than. So do I shade above or below if it says less than? Yeah. Below. So, okay. So here's my yellow portion. Let me shade that in really quick, okay? A little messy here, but trying to be quick, but I also don't want to be too messy. So here's my first answer, okay? But I got to do both. So now I'm going to do the green line. It says y is less than negative 1/3 x minus 2. So I'm going to change to green. I'm going to start at negative 2. Okay, so it's down there. And then it tells me to go down once and 3 to the right. That's my slope. Down once, 3 to the right. Solid or dashed line for this one? This one's also dashed, right? So here we go. Dashed line. And am I shading above or below? Below. It says less than again. So I'm going to change to my blue marker here. Okay. And as I'm just coloring it in, the answer will show up on its own. It's going to be everything that's in yellow and blue, so it's going to be the green portion of it. Okay, so just kind of get everything in there. There you go. So that's my answer. You don't have to do anything else. I'm done. This problem is finished. Your solution is that green section. Okay. Now, if for some reason you're like, well, yeah, Mr. B, that's great that you have colors, but I don't have any of those colors. What should I do if I don't have that? Well, look, if you have, let's just say you have a line that looks like this and a line that looks like that. Okay, let's just pretend. And let's say the dashed line you were supposed to color above it. So I always tell people, because this is what I used to do at first before I bought markers. I used to just use pencils. So this is what I used to do. I used to draw lines that were perpendicular to the one that I was dealing with. So I'm dealing with the dashed line right now. So below it would look like that. Let's say above the solid line. So then I would draw perpendicular lines. And what you're going to notice is there's going to be a point right here where you get those little hash marks, right? The crisscrossing. So just try to be real clean with it. Or if you want to color it in, color both of them in really lightly, and then where you know they cross, you can color that in really, really dark, right? So, I mean, do it however you like, or maybe use pencil and pen, right? Like, whatever you want to do. I just know that when you use highlighters, it just naturally pops up for you, okay? You could also use colored pencils. If you have colored pencils, use a yellow and a blue. Just kind of color it in kind of hard so that when the two colors touch, they start to mix, and you'll see some green popping up. So, but I mean, is this terribly difficult? Well, not really, right? If you were okay with it in 2-4, this is basically the same thing. All right, so here's another one. So I'm doing a couple different types because I know sometimes in the homework they'll give you some weird looking equations. Notice these are already solved for y for you, so you don't have to worry about solving for y. I'm going to go ahead and draw a coordinate plane here to the side. As usual, you guys will already have these things, so you don't have to worry about drawing them. Okay, let me give each graph a color. So this will be red, and this one is going to be green. We'll start with the green one because that's the one that looks a little more normal. So, you know what? Let's make, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to make the y less than 2. I'm going to make it less than or equal to, okay? So the top one, I'm going to make it less than or equal to. All right, so we're going to start off with the green one. And according to this, I start at -3. -3. And then my slope is 5 over 1. If it just says 5, it's 5 over 1. If it's 5 over 1, then leave it like that. But if it's not a fraction, you can always write it as a fraction, right? So it's going to be 5 over 1, so 5 up and 1 over. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 over is right here. Okay? It does say greater than, so that means the line should be dashed. So try to draw a nice dashed line. Greater than. So greater than. That means it has to be above the line. So this stuff right here is below it. Okay, so you can see the line has a little bit of an incline. But like if my finger is here, it's below that line. If my finger is here, it's above the line, right? So greater than means above. So I gotta go that way. So I'm gonna color in towards the left side. So let me use my highlighter here. And again, if you're using pencil, just color it in real lightly. And then the other one you color in nice and lightly as well. And then once you know where the answer is, then color that one in nice and dark. Okay? When I was a kid, I didn't get all the cool graph paper. I had to make my own graph myself. I do have free graph paper over there if you guys ever want it. It's over there. All right. I wanted to do the next line last just to kind of get the normal looking one out of the way. So y less than or equal to 2. So notice there's no x and y. So if we're missing the second variable, so the two variables makes it two-dimensional. That means it can be diagonal, right? It can go like this and like that. But when there's only one variable, it's either flat or it's vertical. Okay, either horizontal or vertical. So what's this case? Y less than or equal to 2. The line y equals 2, let's just say. Is that a flat line or is that a vertical line? Anybody remember? It's flat. If you need a hint, just look at your y-axis and look at all the little tick marks. They're going side to side, right? Not up and down. Side to side, left to right, left to right. No, this one you can't do. Left to right, left to right, left to right. So that means anything that says y equals to something is flat. If it says x equal to something, it's vertical. Okay? So I'm going to go to 2 on the y-axis, so right here. And then I'm going to draw a flat line. Now it's going to be a flat solid line. Now it says less than or equal to. So should I highlight above it or below it? Below it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my blue marker here. And I'm just going to go across. Like so you can see right there how when I was drawing it, it was changing colors on the left side, but not on the right side. And that's going to be my answer, that green portion right there. All right? So again, you don't have to like circle it or give me a point. Or, no. The picture itself is the answer. So when you're doing this like on the final exam at the end of the year, there's going to be questions that say like which picture represents these inequalities. You're going to draw them and you're going to try to match your picture with 4 options of pictures. And you say, okay, that picture looks just like mine. Okay, so the pictures need to match. Are we okay with this one? All right. So here's one more, and this one is not solved for y, so that's the reason why I give you a third one. This is the final one, okay? We're going to stop after this one. But you are going to have to solve, okay? So let's start with the top one. I'll make it red here. So we're going to start with the top one, which is x minus y less than or equal to -1. And I'm going to solve for y. So let me subtract x. I'm going to move the x over, so I get -y less than or equal to -x minus 1. And to get y by itself, I have to divide everything by a -1. And if I divide everything by a negative, both sides, I'm supposed to flip the inequality, right? So this is going to be y greater than or equal to x plus 1. So there's my first one. Okay. Now let me change to green for the next equation. That way we know the red one is this one, the green one will be the other one. So I have x plus y is less than 3. Now I'm going to move the x over, so I'm going to subtract it. So that gives me y is less than -x plus 3, and that one's done. There's nothing more to do with that one. I don't have to divide anything. So I have one line that's going to be solid, shaded above, that's the red one. And then the green one will be dashed and shaded below. Okay, that's the green. So let's go ahead and just draw it. And then we're done for today. So here we go. Like I said, one of the nice things I liked about this is, I think I told you guys before, I like to draw. So anytime I had to do graphs, I always enjoyed graphing because it involved some drawing. I like doing these a lot because it involved coloring too, right? So a little bit more than just drawing pictures, but some coloring. So these were some of my favorite things to do in algebra, just because it was more than just adding and subtracting numbers. I actually got to do something visual. So I don't know if you guys like doing these, but these were always my favorite type of things. So, all right, the red equation, y greater than or equal to x plus 1. So I'm going to start at 1. What is the slope for the red equation? Yeah, 1 over 1. You can't see it, but it's right there, right? M is 1 over 1. So I'm going to go 1 up, 1 over. And according to the inequality, greater than or equal to, it's a solid line. And shading above, right? Greater than or equal to. So shade above. And again, the bigger you make the graph, the more time it takes to color it in. Now the green one. So y is less than negative x plus 3. So I'm going to start at positive 3. Okay? And then my slope is negative 1 over 1, right? So negative 1 over 1. That's right here where this dot is already. The line has to be a dashed line. So I'm going to go ahead and draw the line as a dashed line. And then it says less than, so I got a shade below it, right? So getting my blue marker here, shading below. I know it looks green right now, but I promise you it's blue. Now once you're done coloring this in, you are done at that point. Let's see, almost done here. And there you go. So the difference between this equation and the other ones is this one was not solved for y, so we had to solve for y. Example 2, the difference was that we had a one-dimensional line to draw, right? A y less than or equal to 2. So you might get some x's greater than 3, something like that. But you could get one-dimensional lines, so that was example 2. And example 1 was just kind of like a normal one, okay, any normal-looking type of inequality. So this is what your homework will be like. It should be relatively quick. I don't think it's going to take too long. But coloring it in, it takes a little bit of time, but nothing too much that's overwhelming.